Welcome back to another episode of Hanging with the Herd. I guess we got to give a shout out to Coach Ruff. He's finally 21. Shout out, Coach Ruff.
Happy birthday.
Big 2-1.
Yeah. I'm feeling 22.
Youngest director out there.
How old are you? 25?
25. Yep.
Dang. Director
Wow.
at 24. Nice.
Yeah. I was actually hired at 23.
Oh, little flex.
I was actually talking to one of my bosses today, and he was like, "So how old are you now?" I was like, 25. You guys hired me at 23. He was like, "Holy shit."
Did we?
Yeah. Wait a second.
Wait, what?
All right, we're continuing our journey to SNC Professional. We'll have Coach Ruff. Coincidentally, we had no idea it was actually going to be his birthday today when we recorded this, except him, I guess. But look at that timing. We kind of sucked with the timing with Adam, but we redeemed ourselves accidentally. But let's get to the thought of the day. Coach Ruff, take it away.
Thought of the day. Do you guys floss your teeth?
Not enough.
Yes or no? Every day.
Every day?
Not
No,
every day.
no shot every day, bro.
What about like at least regularly? Maybe a few
Yes.
times a week.
Yes.
Once a week.
I
Once a
do.
week.
I do it almost every day because I switched up to a water flosser. Oh, game changer. Game changer.
Dude, I had a dentist
I-
tell me, though, that you should still do regular floss with that.
They tell you everything. They tell you to do everything.
I
I'm
know,
not
bro,
gonna do it.
just-
I'm not gonna do both. I'm gonna do water floss. It's convenient.
It is, bro. It's way nicer.
I just sit there with my mouth over the sink and I'm just like just going to town. But the downside of it is it splatters everywhere, so you got water
Mm.
everywhere.
Dude, I got like a water flasher thing for my ears.
Oh,
It like shoots out like it's like a pointer, and it shoots out
Oh.
water in like 3 directions, and it like cleans out your bro. It's magical. I'm telling you, it's a euphoric feeling. It is
anybody here
Never heard of that.
have a bidet?
so good. Oh, if I could, I would. Katie won't let me get one.
My buddy bought one off Amazon for like $90, and it's like I tried it when I was at his house, and I was like, I might need to
It's
cop one.
magical, bro. Magical.
Educate me. What is that?
It's on your toilet and it sprays water into your bum hole, bro, and it cleans your butthole.
So you don't even have to wipe. You just water
It's
wash it.
so
It's like
good,
flossing your
bro.
butthole.
It's so popular in other countries.
Yeah,
Like they actually have them like in standard toilets.
that was the first time I tried it. Was in Italy. I could not use it every time. It is the best thing ever.
Ain't got those in Mexico.
Nah, bro. They should. That's the place you need it the most, man. Holy
I mean,
cow.
how hard is the pressure of one of those?
You could change it.
Yeah. You can have a slight splash, or
You
you can
get
have
different types of sprays too. Oh, bro, you could spend some money on a good bidet.
You ever get sprayed with a pressure washer? Well, if you want to.
What about like do they have air dryers? Like when you're at a car wash,
bro?
Haven't had,
does it dry it or like do you have
What's the
like-
same as like using a wipe, bro?
you just use less toilet paper. That's all.
Yeah, you just hit it with the bidet, then you could go with a little toilet paper after.
Give it a little pat.
Yeah.
wow?
Dude, we should get a bidet sponsor. Shout out to all bidet companies out there. We're looking for you. Hit us up.
If anyone's listening. So
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the squatty potty?
Squatty potty? Dude, I support the squat. Once you use the squatty potty and have a good poop with it, bro, you never not want to use the squatty potty.
Yeah, we've considered the squatty potty.
we should get sponsored by them too. Them and a bidet, ultimate pooping abilities. Unstoppable.
And then we
shits.
get a pre-workout.
I'm glad I just finished eating dinner.
We get a pre-workout and a squatty potty co-sponsorship.
Could you imagine just like chugging your pre-workout 5 a.m. with your knees just to your chest?
Dude, you wouldn't even have to warm up. You'd feel so good after that. You'd be ready to squat 500 pounds instantly.
Oh, damn. I already know my mom's gonna text me after listening to this pod. Like, dude, why are you guys talking about poop so much? Vondo, what do you got?
So I was looking at some pictures on Facebook of like old football photos, and there was one photo of like me and my boys after our last football game in college, and then it brought me some memories of like the entire game. We had like a subpar record, so like we were like 5-5 or whatever. So like season was over after this game. College career, football career is over, and like I like tell myself and tell like my boys like, yeah, I'm not crying after the game. Like during the game, like you're into it. Towards the end of the game, I'm like, well, we lost. Like that's it. Like that was a good run. And then after the game's over and like the families start to walk on the field, like I turn my head and I see like my mom and like my family and like instantly just started bawling. Like I don't know how, or like obviously I know why because football like meant that much to me. But like the fact that the instant second that I turned and put my eyes on my family, I like completely bawled and like was just crying like a baby. So like just brought that memory back to me. And I wanted to see if you guys had any like whether you won a championship and was just balling with your boys or family, or it was your last game of high school or college, and like you were crying. Like any moments like that you guys ever had?
Yeah. I mean, starting in high school, like when you're done with your high school career, I remember looking at, my three best friends, Santa Matt and Pat, and we all like group hugged and just cried our eyes out. That was the first time I've ever bawled in front of like other guys.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the first time. And then college was definitely a little different because you go through it and every year and it's like, well, I still got 2 more years, 3 more years. And then my senior year, I was still recovering from my second ACL. So I kind of knew like I had my career planned out. I had my future kind of planned already. Not that I didn't care whatsoever, but I did not cry. It was super weird. And it was a weird feeling because I was like, well, I kind of knew I'm done. And I've had the past 3 months to kind of feel that way because
Yeah.
as soon as I tore it again going into my senior year, that's when like I lost it. I lost it for like a good couple weeks. And then it was weird to be around, everyone starts crying, everyone's feeling bad and giving each other hugs and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I think I was just avoiding it so much to where it just came
Yeah.
out that last game.
absolutely. Yeah. It's crazy that a sport can have such an impact like that.
Yeah.
I in high school, I got pretty emotional after the last one. But college, I did like a 5th year. So by that 5th year, dude, I was just like, here's
Checked
my
out.
pads. Here you go. Like my coach had already like after the last game, like I had like my last 2 games and like practices, I'd like done well. Like I got moved back. Like I came in as a corner and like played a lot more safety and stuff. And I got moved back to corner. And he's like, you know what, Hayden, I probably should have just left you at corner your whole time here. I'm like, thanks, man. Thanks for telling me
Thanks,
that after
man.
the last game. Cool, dude. And yeah, at that point I was just like so done. Like I'd already been interning and I had teams for strength and conditioning. I was just trying to figure that out and I was just ready to just get that season over. And I kind of went on like a 2-3 week binge of just drinking and not doing anything, and it was wonderful. So yeah, after college I was just ready to check the hell out of it.
Mine was kind of similar. So, like, I don't think I cried my 4th year playing hockey in college, club hockey, but I just remember thinking that I was supposed to graduate with all these kids. Like, I was supposed to be graduating. I'm seeing all my friends graduate, and I just remember like feeling lost and sad about that. And then by the time my 5th year, I was just like kind of over it. But I'm pretty sure I did cry after my 5th year. But it definitely wasn't. I think if I would have been done after 4, then I definitely would have been way more emotional than I was after that 5th year.
What about high
By
school?
5 years, you're just tired. College.
Did you cry at all at high school? Did you play sports in high school?
Yeah, but I don't think I did because I knew I was gonna go play like at WSU.
Yeah.
And for hockey, it's a little different. It's not like high school. It's just
It's all club
kind
and
of,
stuff.
yeah.
Not club, but like yeah.
Yeah.
Adam, are you here with us?
I was gonna say, if you remember my story from last week, kind of going off of that, I think it was our last game where I was recovering from mono. It was kind of what I didn't talk about was like that last game. I wasn't even supposed to really play because if you know anything about mono, like there's that chance of spleen laceration or something like that while you're playing contact sports. So it was kind of crazy how like that last game, like the turntable, like, I called my coach and like I really didn't think I was going to be able to play that last playoff game. So like I rushed to the doctor and got a ultrasound to make sure that like the swelling wasn't like my spleen wasn't enlarged enough, like it was safe. So the doctor could sign off on it like 4 hours before kickoff. That way he's like, you're gonna be safe playing the game. And like I remember still feeling like crap when I played because I was still kind of sick, but I was like, there's no way I'm gonna miss my last like potential football game. And it ended up being my last game before college. So that was emotional, but it was like I was just happy to play too at the end there. And then college, I think if I remember, my last college time playing was practice where I got like knocked out of practice. So a concussion was my last play. So I don't really remember. I was playing defensive end and the tight end crack blocked on me in practice, which is like you don't do that. And like it was like lights out. And I remember we didn't have many numbers, so I just kept trying to play like through it. Like I look on the side, like I got knocked out. It was like stars and everything. And I look towards the sidelines, and there's nobody to like sub me in. I'm gonna just keep playing. And then towards
it's like you're walking off, and everyone's like, "No, stay out there."
No, there was no one that, like you look and like
Every play.
like people down with the chances, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna keep going. It was like we were playing inside run, so it was just freaking pounding. And then I think I remember too, like it was like a sunny day, so I was like squinting my eyes because like with that concussion, like I was having really hard time looking at coach when he was talking. He just chewed my ass out in front of the whole team. And then later he found out I had a concussion and he apologized heavily to me. But yeah, that was the last time I played sports in college. It wasn't as emotional. Plus I picked up club lacrosse, so that filled the void.
Wait, you played club lacrosse?
Yeah.
I did not know that. What position did you play?
LSM.
Look at that.
I like met somebody when I was walking through campus during like club day, and he's like, "You ever play lacrosse?" I was like, "No, I know nothing about it." And he's like, "Why don't you come by practice?" He gave me some gear, and he's like, "All right, well, here's a stick. We'll teach you how to shoot later, but can you play defense?" And I was like, "Yeah, give me a big stick, and I'll play some defense." And like,
Get you a big stick, huh?
They're like, "You can hit people too," and I was like, "All right." Scored 1 goal.
Well,
Hey, update. Hank. Wait, what'd you say, Justin? You say Airheads or Laffy Taffy?
I think I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna have to go with Laffy Taffy because I think there's more flavors.
Dang, bro, you're
There's
crazy.
more flavors.
Oh, yeah.
Airheads can just get hard and like stuck to your teeth. But
you and Hank are colluding, bro. For those who aren't
is it
listening,
Airhead?
she said
Airheads
Laffy
have just
Taffy.
as much flavor, bro.
Oh,
Airheads have more flavor, bro.
Yeah.
But for those listening, there's a poll on my Instagram right now between me and my wife on Airheads or Laffy Taffy, and I think our group is 4-1 Airheads.
Yep.
I went Laffy Taffy.
Oh, you crazy, bro. 3-2 Airheads, Laffy Taffy. Damn, that's wild. I guess we'll throw Hank in there, 3-3. We're split. We can count Hank in. All right. Adam, thought of the day.
Yes, I was thinking like this is the time of the year where like I really miss football because it seems like I like basketball, but I haven't been enjoying watching it as much as I used to. I like hockey and like the Wild are fun to watch and stuff, but like this is the time of year, like there's no college games on, there's no NFL on. Like this is like there's XFL, I guess. I don't know if you guys are watching that, but
nope.
Soccer, dude.
Nope.
yeah, I know like soccer, like it's just not soccer's not for me, but
You
Nope.
don't even give it a chance.
you're right, I haven't, but this is just like to me like
Track?
this is void right now. Oh, of course there's track going on. We got Big Ten this weekend. Trying to three-peat.
Indoor.
Unified track and field.
Shout out.
Yeah.
No free shout outs.
You doing unified right now? You guys playing?
About to start in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Unified track and field.
It's Vondo's team that he coaches.
It's my team. I did unified flag football. Now I'm doing unified track and field. That's special kids with special needs integrated
Oh.
with kids that don't have special needs.
Oh, I did not know that was a thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
Ralph, where you been?
Lock in, bro.
Dang, bro. So checked out.
Dude, you're
That's
acting
crazy.
like me now.
Yeah, for real. You're acting like JD looks like right now.
I like JD's look.
I know. I was trying to fix it, and then I like moved it, and it like popped up, and I was like, all right. fuck
Homie
it.
looks like he just took a 2-hour nap. Doesn't know where he's at.
No, I just got back from work. It was It's crazy today.
If-
Testing out max week for football, you know?
If you're listening to the pod, you need to go watch the YouTube so you can see JD right now. Man just looks like he just woke up. All right, we'll save JD's for last. He's got a duck fact. My thought of the day is we went to the doctor yesterday for to get the baby. We had to get an ultrasound because they met. So if you guys don't know, they measure the size of the belly to determine how it's growing, to make sure it's not getting too, like, to see the size. Like if it's undersized. No, not mine. I didn't know what you said. Now it's just registered. But no, so they measure the belly to make sure like the baby's growing the right amount. And so the time before we went to the doctor, Katie's belly was measuring like 4 weeks ahead. So like, okay, we're gonna get an ultrasound just to make sure, like, see if the baby's actually that big, or maybe it's just a lot of fluid, which it can be. So we go get the ultrasound yesterday, and the first thing they check out is the fluid, and the lady goes, so it looks like the fluid is the right size. So immediately both are thinking like, okay, this baby's about to be huge. So she measures the baby, and she's kind of like chuckling as she's measuring the baby, and we're like, holy cow. And she goes, so she starts with, so these aren't the most accurate measurements, but right now your baby's measuring 6 pounds and 5 ounces at 33 weeks. And so if you guys don't know, at that time, the baby's supposed to be about 4 pounds.
Yeah, big old baby.
So that's 33 weeks. The baby's not due till 40 weeks, technically. So after 36 weeks, you can gain a half a pound to a pound as a baby. So as of right now, that baby could be about 10 pounds if it comes full term.
Good. Husker power right there.
Dude, crazy.
Coach Rule is on hold.
So the doctor said, like, you're normally not supposed to have a baby till 36 weeks. The doctor's like, if this baby came this weekend, I wouldn't try and stop it. Like, it would just be like, this baby's coming out.
Oof.
So we're getting everything set this weekend. We're getting car seats put in. We're getting crib set up. We're getting all the other stuff set up. So getting the house is on hold because who knows when this baby's coming. And that's kind of like too much for us to try to figure out if we're going to get a house and then have a baby come in the middle of that would be insane. So that's on hold. So yeah, could have a baby literally any day.
Nice, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Katie's
Nice.
not happy because that's a big
Yeah, I
baby
was gonna
day.
say, I'm
It
sure
is both,
she's
yeah.
feeling opposite of how you're feeling about
Yeah.
this.
So they did the ultrasound, and then we went into like another room, and the doctor came in, and the doctor just walks in laughing. Like that's how she walks into the room, because she's like, so bad news, baby has the same head as dad. And yeah, dude. So big baby. And I'm hoping big baby means big kid, like 6'2", like skips a generation, right? My dad's big, my cousins are big, my grandpa was tall.
Oh, there you go.
So,
That's
yeah,
good.
I'm hoping we got a skip generation, baby. You know?
Yeah, D1. in the
Yeah,
making.
yeah.
That's an early retirement, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's what that is.
100%. Yeah.
Good plan.
All right, JD.
All right, you guys ready for your duck fact of the day?
Never been more ready.
All right. Did you know ducks have regional accents?
What does that
There was
even mean?
a research study done in London about ducks living in different places, like ones that were closer in the city of London and ones that were just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And they actually have accents, like different sounding quacks, you can call them. Like the ones in the city of London, same type of duck, same species of mallard or whatever they call them there. But the ones inside the city were louder and had a rougher quack, whereas the ones outside the city were
Those ducks are
quieter, smoother quack. Now you know.
Hey,
Wow.
this is gonna be such a dumb thought, but I like never even thought about how the fact that they have ducks over there. I'm thinking like that's such an American thing, just like go out and shoot some ducks. You know what I'm saying? Do you
No,
think
that's a big like English thing, I think, shooting ducks.
I think they're big on pheasants,
Is that what it is?
like the hunts where they walk around and stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's pheasant hunting.
We'd have to ask someone that's English.
English. I got an English girl on my team. I'll ask her.
Wow.
Yeah. But
There's British ducks that have different accents.
Yeah.
it's the British ones and the German ones that don't get along, bro. It's a whole thing. The Ukraine
You got an
ones
inner
and
city
Russian
duck
ones
accent.
going at it.
Yeah, you
know,
got duck gangs.
duck gangs. The Italian ones, bro. They're
Dude, duck
French
gang
ones are
shirts.
moody. Yeah,
You
dude.
got the
we get-
herd members and then
herd members get the
duck
duck
gangs.
shirts.
We'll get it going.
We should put the poll out there about those duck ideas.
Bro, the duck with the American flag is a fire combo.
Dude, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Take my percentage of the company, throw it all on duck shirts.
Put all on duck shirt.
Just duck it.
Nice. That's what we should say. Just
On the
duck it.
back. Yeah.
All right. Let's get down to business. Coach
good.
Ruff,
Alrighty.
take it away.
So I'm gonna move the mic here so I get a little comfortable. So S&C journey. Originally found the weight room, right? Through sports, middle school, kind of like everybody else. I was in 7th grade, so like 12, 13 years old. It was just extremely intimidated. I actually did not enjoy it at all. I was kind of like the kids that I'll have trouble with now. Like they're not in love with it. They're kind of like, screw this. I was a decent enough athlete to be like, why do I need this? And was also intimidated because we got mixed in as middle school kids with all of the high school kids. So if you wanted to play football, you pretty much had to do summer weightlifting. We had an awesome, strength staff because Winona State was so close with Winona Senior High School that the GAs and even one of the associate directors would come and write programs and coach us. So we had awesome coaches and everything, great people. And I'll kind of get into that more. But again, just being 13 years old and now you're with 17, 18-year-old kids that are just mountains at that time, you're like, wow, this is not fun. They're just yelling. This is super scary. I hate this here. So I would go with my buddies to the YMCA. We would just do stupid stuff. I remember being on the calf raise machine with the pads on your thighs. And I was like, yeah, this is good. And just playing basketball. And that was my workout. But ultimately what changed that was I got in some trouble as a young kid, kind of messed around with the wrong crowd that I won't necessarily say, but my mom knows what I got in trouble for. And steered me in the right direction to just basically focus on what I want to do. And that was be really successful at football. So I hooked up with my buddy Tanner, who was a big weight room junkie. He, trained boxing and did all kinds of stuff growing up. So he loved the weight room. He was the one that kind of started competing in Olympic lifting. So I was like, look, man, I don't want to mess around with these kids anymore. I want to just make sure my head's on straight. I'm doing the right thing. And so I really started to just dive in into the weight room and just found joy in it. I found joy in Olympic lifting, but also started to attach myself to the strength coaches we had. And I don't even remember a lot of their full names, but Eric, Lauren, Chuck were these 3 associate and assistants at Winona State. And this dude, Chuck, was the graduate assistant. And he was literally an older brother to me, which was super cool because I was literally just kind of with my mom. I had my younger brother who was not going to the same school and we had separate dads. We're half brothers. So, he wasn't around me. I wasn't really as much of a mentor to him at that time. And I needed that because I needed, some direction, some character building, some stuff like that. And this dude was just bare bone, 6'3", 250, 9% body fat. And he also was the O-line coach. And so he was a super macho man hard ass and literally just shot it straight. If I was being soft, he's like, stop being a bitch. And I was 13 and I was like, okay, yes, sir. And then I just started to, again, fall in love with those principles. And I was coming back every morning. I'd beat the strength coaches there at, 5:45 in the morning or whatever. And it just became more of a family. And, not to dock on parenting or whatever. I have great parents. I'm blessed, with my mom and dad. But my dad lived up in Minneapolis. My mom was, 2.5 hours away in Winona. So me being more around my mother, I didn't really have the father figure ideal. And my strength coach really became that. I would go there after school. That was my place. I did homework. I wanted to hang out. I would talk about life. I'd talk about relationships. I'd vent to them. And it was literally like my second family. And then, I just thinking back, like there's so many important people just from my high school strength and conditioning setting that I probably should be in better contact with now, but literally just steered me in this direction. I knew exactly what I wanted to do going into college. So fast forwarding through high school, loved weight training, blah, blah, blah. Once I decided to go to Augsburg, I knew I was like, hey, this is something I want to do. I want to do S&C or athletic training. So when I went there, I was like, if I want to do both of these, possibly PT, what's the degree? And they were saying bachelor's of science, blah, 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 just so you have the prereqs. That was stupid. Don't do that. Bachelor of science just means you have to take more science classes that you're not going to need. And that was way harder than I ever needed. But while I was there, I immediately told the strength coach, like, hey, I'm an incoming freshman. Like, this is something I want to do, but I don't really know what else to do besides the courses. And so he kind of was the first one to inform me, like, hey, you should intern. You should start reading these books, blah, 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 do some of that. And his name was Ryan Rasmussen. He was there just my freshman year of college, showed up physically, like, well prepared because of my high school career. So I was feeling confident in my weight room abilities. It was more, can I translate it to the field? But this guy was a little bit, in air quotes, unconventional compared to what my high school was like. So I had like this weird knee-jerk reaction. We did an Olympic lift, and my high school was huge on Olympic lifting, and I loved it. Like, we kind of did competitions in high school with that. And so I would always ask, like, why aren't we doing this? I was the annoying kid, like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And then we started doing really, really slow squatting and all this tempo work. And I was like, why are we going slow? And had no idea that this dude had worked with Minnesota and had experience under Cal and was running triphasic whatsoever. As a freshman, I was just like, this is so dumb, dude. This sucks. Like, I hate this. And he was teaching us RPR. And I was like, what the hell? And I like hated it. I was super uncomfortable because I also had a hernia mesh repair put in. So like the psoas release, I was like, yo, I'm freaked out by this. And he was like, you'll be fine. And I was just like, no, dude, like, this is weird. I hate this. Like, let me fucking clean. Like, let me do normal things. Eventually I would do like 2 workouts a day, blah, blah, strain my MCL. He told me the day I did that during spring ball, he's like, if you didn't train 2 to 3 times a day and listen to what I would tell you, you wouldn't have this injury. And that immediately clicked in my head. Like, at first I was like, wow, you suck. You're a jerk. But then it took like a good 24 hours. I was like, no, he's probably right. Because that was like the only time I ever kind of had some stupid soft tissue injury. So really started to gain more respect and listen to what he said, focused on class a little more, tapered things back in the weight room. And then with that, allowed myself to also get a little more comfortable in the off season of football training with being a leader and just trying to push others. And then, again, that built my confidence to then reach out about doing an internship. So I went back to Winona State, the strength coaches I knew from high school. And I was like, hey, can I do a summer internship? So this was going into my sophomore year and extremely young, didn't really know what I'm supposed to do, but I worked with my old high school. So I knew some kids actually from my old high school. And I also worked with Winona State athletes specifically with their football program, which was pretty competitive at Division II level. So again, like, we had some pretty legitimate athletes that I was extremely intimidated by. Now I'm having to like be put in these coaching positions on field work in the weight room. And I'm like, this is, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I was just more or less kind of a cone. Like, I would work really hard, not really know what to say, but I'd do my best. And one of the kids one time was like, yo, what do you do here? And I was like, what? I was like, I mean, I help set up, like, I help do certain things. I cue basic stuff. Like, I'm just here to learn. And he's like, well, I want to be coached. And I was like, ouch, that hurt. Like, that was not cool. And that's where I was like, okay, I need to actually learn how to coach and like how to do stuff. So I had conversations with those strength staff and they totally understood. And they just basically told me, like, just fail, like, try stuff, like, just talk, like, build relationships. And that helped me a lot going back to Augsburg after that summer. Cause then in the weight room there, I was able to try and branch off and practice that. And while I was coming back through the fall, I reached out to University of Minnesota, found out who Coach Y was. Cause I was like, well, I don't really know how to do this. So I'm just going to like send an email to Coach Y and say like, hey, are you looking for internships? This is in mid-October. She was like, Yeah, email again in a little bit. We'll be looking through some applicants in January for the spring. And so I was super excited, one, to even get a reply, because I was like, wow, this is like a famous person in my eyes. Like, I'm at a Division III school and a D1 strength coach just emailed me back. And ended up getting a call from Scott. Was super nervous and scared because immediately on the phone, he had a raspy low voice. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just like a 19-year-old college kid. I don't know what I'm doing. But got the internship through the spring, was with two other people that were none of you. They were way more cone-like than I was. One of them was very interesting. I won't go into that. The other one was a pretty nice individual. But that's where I really got to see like what I was just doing as a freshman in college. This is where it was all born. So I was thrown into triphasic. I was actually being able to understand what training was doing to your body. And then also just around a huge staff that was extremely friendly and caring and actually understood, like, I'm trying to learn. They're not just here to like chew me out and put me to work and grind my gears just so I like burn out and give it up. And that was something I took away, where I was like, maybe I didn't coach a whole lot the first couple months I was there, but I just wanted to show that I was willing to do whatever it took and extremely hardworking. And that eventually paid off, because I asked Scott 2 months down the road, like, hey, can I stay on for this summer? Because knowing, I was like, I feel like I could learn so much more, because I was still going to school at the time. And I just wanted to make sure like I could get the most out of it before I had to be done and before I was basically going to end my college career. And then that's when I met you guys. So kind of going back to the first time I met everyone, I remember Nick Schultz, walking into the weight room and saying, this place is like a candy shop. And I was like, this is going to be a fun summer. Like, there's this guy with a man bun and the forearm tats. I was like, this is a douche if I've ever seen one, but ended up being one of the best guys I've ever met. He's extremely nice. Literally gave us the name of this company. And all of you guys were just extremely smart. And it just sped up my process. Like, I got more hungry to learn. I saw you guys coach and how you talk to athletes, how you talk to coaches, because that was a huge part too. Like, I didn't necessarily understand like how to ask questions or what I should be learning. And you guys really, really helped with that, and I was by far the youngest kid there. I knew going into college, like, one of my high school strength coaches told me to get experience at every level. So getting experience at Winona State and the high school, I was like, okay, check. University of Minnesota, Division I experience for several months, check. After the Minnesota experience, I was obviously still stayed in touch with you guys, but went back and interned at Augsburg because I had torn my ACL my junior year in college football. It was stupidly in a practice, was in between two linemen, just knee popped, and that sucked. Wasn't even in a game. That was what I was more mad about. I was like, why couldn't I have done this in a game? That would have been way cooler. But that again allowed me to learn the rehab side. So working with Twin Cities Orthopedics and my athletic training staff, I was constantly asking questions. I had really awesome PTs that I would work with. They would come to the school. I would go to, the TCO center. I think it's out in like Egan or whatever. If you guys haven't been there, Adam, I'm sure you've been there. That Vikings facility, like the TCO complex, is amazing. They have wicked smart people there. And I really enjoyed going to rehab, because I was like, I'm going to learn something today. And that now again helped me as a strength coach, like, understand the principles, the foundational principles that we all go by. And then now as a director working with injured athletes and an athletic training staff, I'm like, okay, I can understand some of this stuff and I can apply these basic principles. So that was awesome. Fast forwarding again, went to Concordia St. Paul. So another Division II school, 10 minutes down the road from Augsburg. That staff was totally different than Minnesota. So, I thought going there, okay, I'm in my senior year. I want to get another internship, because if I'm going to apply for graduate assistant positions, like, I want to make sure I have enough experience. And now looking back, I probably didn't even need that, because there's a lot of GAs that have one internship and then go and get that, or even just like college experience and then go get it. And here I was thinking, like, I need 4, 5, 6 internships and all this stuff to make sure I can get a good GA position. But Concordia St. Paul, the coaches there, definitely ran a different system. I just saw some really advanced stuff at a more chill coaching staff at University of Minnesota. I mean, their attention to detail, all that was great, but the CSP staff was way more, like Power 5-ish style. The head coach just came from a different school. So he was in his first year. And I originally actually applied for the graduate assistant position. And he had called me and said, you just need a little more experience, but would love for you to consider interning. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. Like, I'm pretty ready to just like take on this next step. So I was immediately a little salty and ultimately just took the internship because I was told, like, just take it as a learning experience. Like, it's not going to hurt. So I did that through my winter spring semester at Augsburg. And the 2 GAs I was working with were awesome people. They were pretty good people to me. One of them was definitely more of like you're the intern, I'm the GA, like do whatever I say. And I hated that because in the back of my head, I was like, I applied for the position you have and I'm teaching you some things that you don't know. But that was, again, just like ego and another learning experience looking back. Like, that's never how we should think. And a lot of good strength coaches don't think that, and coaches in general don't think that. So that whole time there, I pretty much just made protein. I cleaned a lot. Didn't sit in on too many meetings. I counted a lot of bands and just felt extremely uncomfortable. And
during this time, I just remember you texting me all the time just about how
Yep.
like frustrated you were and how much protein you would make.
Oh my gosh.
And you would just you'd have like a 30-minute vent sesh, and I'd be like, I would told you to just leave, but you're like, no, I gotta stick it out.
Yeah. No, that's like who I am. Like, I never want to quit something. And I remember, I would I went to your house a couple times to have like a couple beers.
Yeah.
Like, I would make protein in these 5-gallon buckets, which, I mean, we all have interns now. Like, that stuff really does help. That matters. But I wanted to learn. Like, I had 3 internships under my belt, and I wanted to learn this stuff. The biggest thing I did learn was that we went through the tier system book, and that was cool. I apply a lot of that stuff nowadays. I apply a lot of, how he set lifts up, how he spoke to athletes, how he treated athletes, and, how he really preached his values so that he was creating a culture. But I also learned like what not to do, and how not to treat people. So that was a huge learning lesson, but extremely frustrating. Again, keeping that in mind, I now was trying to get a graduate assistant position because the end of the semester was here. COVID just hit. I was like, oh, cool. So this internship kind of just stopped, which I was low-key super happy about. And we just got to do like Zoom meetings twice a week and learn about the tier system. So that was cool. But that's when I think I was hanging out with you, Hayden, actually, you and Adam, and sitting in the classroom. Corey walked in and was like, you want a GA position at Merrimack? I was like, what? I was like, I don't even know what Merrimack is. Where is Merrimack? Because I didn't want to leave the Midwest. I was like, all my family's here, stuff like that. And he's like, well, Jess is at this position now, and they're looking for applicants. And then he pretty much told me, like, don't mess this up with the F word in there. And so he helped me kind of create like a training portfolio. I had no idea how to do that. I was talking to my other strength coach networks to be like, what do I do? How do I create a portfolio? And was just trying to send out all this information to a bunch of different schools. I think I applied to like 50 or GA positions at that time, but Merrimack was pretty much the only one that got back to me. And Coach Vaughn, who is the women's ice hockey strength coach there and works side by side with Coach Kamal, he was the one that initially gave me like a phone call interview and asked me some different questions I was never asked before, like, what are your values? And I was like, hard work and like accountability, because I thought I knew what that really was, being a college football athlete. But then he asked, like, how's your coach's eye? I was like, oh, I've never been asked that. How do I answer that? And I was like, pretty good. And he was like, what does pretty good mean? I was like, oh, like, this is for like a real position. Like, this is a real school. And so I was like, I'd probably say a 7 out of 10. He's like, 7 out of 10. It's like a C. I was like, yeah, I think I could grow. That actually was the best answer, because that also showed like I'm not arrogant, because once I got accepted and was extremely happy when I got accepted, I remember getting the phone call mid-workout the last day he said he would call me, and ran back in the weight room and was like, I'm going to Merrimack. Like, yeah. But it showed that I was humble and that I knew I had a lot to grow yet, because when I got to Merrimack, it was the best culture I've ever been around. It was a real staff that rotated every year. So, you're in a graduate fellowship position. So you only have 9 months to really work with a team and, set your future up. And what Coach Kamal and Coach Vaughn have created is just extremely amazing. Like, they have this huge handbook, which I'm sure other schools have these handbooks, but it's a handbook that works for basically a whole new staff every single year. So there's this consistency year to year and this true culture that is not at every other program. And it's something that I really valued because that was something I never saw. And now I'm trying to apply those principles and the values and the culture that I had at Merrimack, where I'm at now at Nichols. While I was there, I worked with men's hockey, women's volleyball, assisted with, football, lacrosse, track, pretty much all the kinds of teams. We all helped each other out. There's 8 different graduate fellows, I believe. And then Coach Kamal himself was the director. Coach Vaughn just worked with women's ice hockey, and the assistant had just left. So this is now during COVID, where if you get COVID, you're out for like 10 days. And Coach Kamal pretty much had to be hands off because he was like, if I get COVID and go down, like, that's not good. And so I now kind of was the primary with men's ice and loved every second because I just went down the rabbit hole, got to do all the traveling, all this stuff, and just truly found that I wanted to do this for a living. Like, I love all the sciencey stuff. I love hanging out with the guys. I went to every women's volleyball practice. We did heart rate monitor stuff. I did warm-ups, cool downs. I was like, this is literally my second family. Like, the staff itself was my family because I was across the country when everyone else was just from the East Coast. And the team was my other family. And then moving forward, met Hank. She was the athletic trainer.
Shout out Hank.
Shout out Hank.
Shout outs.
And ultimately, I wanted to do this for a job, but I wanted to also stay in the East Coast because of Hank. And I just felt something was very strong with that relationship without getting all herky jerky.
Can we get Hank? Can we get Hank in the pod real quick? Can we get Hank in?
Hank, you can jump in.
Hi.
Hank.
Hi.
For everybody listening, her real name is not Hank, in case you didn't know. But
Yeah.
Anytime we say Hank, I think of Hank Blaylock. You guys know who that is?
No.
No.
Baseball player.
Yeah, cool, good. Yeah. Hey, that's it. I always wanted to say this, but that's a very cute picture of you guys in the back there. A little drawing.
Oh,
Little,
thank you.
little nose
Her
to
sister
nose.
got that for us.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, it was like, you guys know my past. I don't want to really get into it too much, but I was in another relationship prior to that. This just felt very different. It wasn't something I had planned, but it was something that a higher power definitely planned. And I felt very confident going forward with. Hayden, what's up?
Can I just say one thing about that?
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna anyway.
This is my favorite Justin Ruff story. Dude. Favorite. So for our listeners, new listeners, I'm not gonna go into whole detail, but at one point,
He's just in back.
just might have been getting married, and this dude, it didn't work out. It is what it is. He has Hank now. Hank's a fucking awesome homie. Okay, but this dude didn't tell us. It wasn't.
I literally called him up. I was like, "Hey, how do I RSVP for this thing?"
He didn't tell us that it wasn't happening. And so, like, I have his magnet at work. Like, it's the only thing hanging up at work. It's just his magnet. And all of a sudden, we just get a rid of, oh, hey, by the way, guys, not happening anymore. This is like 3 months before this is supposed to happen. Like,
It was way earlier. Come
oh,
on.
I don't know. I don't know. 'Cause
It was pretty soon
It was
because I was
soon.
thinking I
Making
need to
plans
get a
with Katie.
hotel and
yes.
figure this out because I kept seeing it on my fridge.
Yes.
I was like, oh, this is coming up. I gotta figure this out.
Me and
then
Katie were like
Mondo.
setting time to like, okay, hey, we can't do anything this time because that's Russ' wedding. Well, best story ever. It's so fucking funny. Like, he just doesn't shout anybody. Like, if he never sent that message, I would have shut up. 100% would have shut up.
Did you say, was I the first one to ask you about it?
You might have been.
I think I was.
I
And then you
mean,
said,
yeah,
and then
you
I was
were.
like, and then you told me on the phone, I was like, oh, I was like, didn't know that.
Yeah.
that's-
I mean,
Sorry
And
for
I
bringing it
think
up,
you
but that's the
texted us.
best fucking story, dude. That's the best.
I'm glad we can laugh about it now. Obviously, there was challenging time in my life. A lot of growth, a lot of 3 a.m. workouts, trying to figure out
You with
where
the
my
gym.
mind was. Just using that as an outlet.
I
At the
probably-
same time, it was also nice because I just buried myself in work and developed a lot. So
I probably wouldn't bring it up if you didn't have Hank. Like if
Yeah.
you were like super sad and depressed about it still, but you got Hank. Hank's awesome.
yeah, and Hank was not trying to do anything. This was pretty much all of me, and I'm glad we're here now. So
Hey,
Dang,
I'm on that
dude.
same boat. Perseverance,
Dang.
baby.
Yeah.
Hey, so when does Hank become Mrs. Hank Ruff?
we've talked about that. There's no timeline.
Look at her face.
There's no
Put you on the
timeline, but
Put you on the spot.
I'll put my life on it that question will be asked at one point. So that will happen.
On the pod.
On the pod.
Dude,
Yo,
viral. Do we get a magnet for that?
Definitely not.
No
Bad
magnet.
luck,
No
bad
magnet.
luck.
You will just get a koozie.
Ah,
Hey,
better
hey.
luck.
Even
Yeah, better. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Continue with your
Yeah, so let's-
journey. Yeah.
We'll be mid Merrimack now. So
Yeah, okay.
like
Shout out,
I
Hank.
just said, going through that transition, a lot of the times when I was working out, it was very much so a mental health thing. And it still is to this day. I think ultimately looking back, as I continue to just grow and develop, like, yes, I got into this field because my strength coaches in high school were my older brothers. They were my mentors. They were my father figures, and they taught me a lot of those foundational things. And then continuing down, it was a huge confidence boost because I felt comfortable in the weight room. It was definitely a mental health thing through college because whenever I got stressed, I'd go work out. And obviously there's science that backs that stuff up. But then especially at Merrimack, being comfortable with the staff I was around and then going through that whole relationship thing, finding Allie and all that, it was a major release and something that I just needed to do. So a lot of the times I was up at like 3 a.m. because I lived across the street in an apartment with 2 other strength coaches. Shout out Jeff and Chaz. They were, my best friends at Merrimack. Jeff is literally one of the best coaches I ever met and one of the best people I ever met. Yeah, he was literally like another brother to me and allowed me to develop and grow and supported that I need to figure stuff out. And burying yourself in work allows you to understand, like, can I keep doing this? And it also allows you to reach your limit and where you're comfortable with. And I'm glad that I completely got that out of my system in your graduate position, because I think that's kind of what it's about. Working with some graduate assistants right now, I'm comfortable telling them, like, look, you need to be comfortable with like emptying the tank. This is all you're supposed to be doing, right? Like you signed up for $10,000 a year. You signed up for air quotes 20 hours a week when you're working 80, but at the same time, like once you're done, you're probably never going to do it again because you got it out of your system, right? Just like going to college, like you got the partying, you got all that stuff out of your system. And now I'm very comfortable with knowing my limits. I'll work extremely hard, but I'll be very comfortable. Like as soon as I get home, I'm home. I shut it off. Like I don't like to do work at home. And I think I've gotten pretty decent at it now. But right after Merrimack, like I said, wanted to stay in the East Coast, obviously for Allie, but I also loved how there's mountains. I love snowboarding. I love that there's the ocean, like right there. That was super cool. There's not one of those in Minnesota. And I loved Boston and all the cool stuff that I could potentially see, So with that said, I was searching for jobs everywhere and found a private sector job in Greenwich, Connecticut. And for those that don't know, Greenwich, Connecticut is a super, super wealthy area, one of the wealthiest areas in the United States. Like mega. Owners of hedge funds, owners of multi-million-dollar companies. I literally at one point trained billionaires. There was a billionaire that worked out there, wicked nice individual, didn't know it. And then afterwards, one of the other coaches that was working there said, yeah, he's the owner of this hedge fund, blah, blah, blah. I was like, huh, must be nice. And people would pay, a couple $100 an hour just to do like workouts.
I didn't know Warren
Really
Buffett.
normal.
What?
Huh?
I didn't know you were training Warren Buffett.
Pretty much. It was bananas, but at the same time, like I thought, ooh, money could be good. Like I'm living in this super cool area. I lived in downtown Stamford, had an awesome apartment. If you've never heard of Irby Apartments. Google it. You used your phone to unlock your door because it was Bluetooth. It was so cool. Anyway, that was just not the style because I missed the team setting. I missed the culture, because those are the questions I remember asking in an interview. Like, what are your values? All the stuff I just learned and I loved, I was now not even close to having. It's just like, you just work, you make money. The more clients you get, the more money you get, blah, blah, blah. And that setting also promoted working 7 days a week. And I was like, whoa, like I want to be able to enjoy this apartment I'm paying $2,000 a month for, and also like see my girlfriend and like this other stuff. Where it was literally like you could go out on a Saturday and have a client at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. And it was like, well, if you don't go see him, you're not making, $30 that hour or whatever it may be. So immediately found out about a month in, I was not sticking with this job, started looking for jobs at other colleges. And I remember actually, I'm really sorry if this company ever hears this podcast. I was sitting in the office at one point. I called my uncle, who's the head wrestling coach at an NAIA school. I was like, Corey, I hate it here. Like, I don't want to do this, but I don't know how to get back into like collegiate. And I'm just like struggling to like find jobs and feel comfortable. And he was like, well, just jump on like NCAA job market. And I was like, yeah, I've kind of looked on there. I've looked every other network. There's not a lot. And he literally Googled at that point and said, where's Nichols College? And I was like, what? He's like, there's a place right here in Massachusetts. They're hiring a head strength coach. I was like, oh, I'll look into it. If it wasn't for my Uncle Corey saying that and Googling it at that point, I would not have the job I have. It's crazy to think about. But I thought I was searching everywhere online, reaching out, and come to find out that the guy that just left Nichols was also a Merrimack alum. He graduated a few years before me. He's a great individual. I've met him a couple of times now, hear nothing but good things, and he's an awesome man. All the athletes that had him that I also worked with spoke very, very, very highly of him. And now going into that position, I knew that I wanted to set a higher standard. I wanted to exceed what he had started, and it's been nothing but positivity ever since I got here. I mean, the admin I have definitely support me. We're starting to slowly build a really strong culture with our student athletes, making sure that we're focusing on developing the person, because looking back on my career in the weight room, it was all about, personal development in my character and, wanting to develop good leaders. Obviously we care about sports performance. We care about all that stuff, but at Division III, training 3 to 4 days a week isn't going to make or break your career, and at the end of the day, like, you could win a national championship or lose a national championship. It's not going to be blamed on you. And not everyone's going to really know, like if you lose a Super Bowl and you find out like the quarterback tried to max bench like the day before, there might be someone that would find out about that and you might lose your job. Right. But here it's like almost this awesome Wild West where you obviously have control, but you also get to like test and learn so much. Like the first year I was here, I was able to actually, program effectively, but also just like try stuff that in the past or as an assistant, you might not be able to try. Not saying I did anything crazy, but there might've just been certain, principles or movements. And I was like, this kind of makes sense. I like how I do it. And that's been the best part. And now that I have a graduate assistant, shout out Coach Hoos, Jordan Hoos. He's doing a great job. He also was an Augsburg alum, played football with them. That's just, again, the school showing that they value athletics, they value strength conditioning, and that we're continuing to develop, because all the student athletes, are seeming to reciprocate. Like they enjoy their time. They're growing themselves and they're becoming better people and better athletes. So I'm currently living the dream. Hopefully I just get another assistant or two in a bigger weight room, and same with Hank. She can get a bigger training room and a couple of assistants and we'll be chilling. So, yeah.
Is Hank the only athletic trainer?
No, there's 4. Well, technically 5.
5.
But pretty much just 4. Yeah. For 23 teams.
Dang, that's crazy.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So me and you have had some conversations about like some of the challenges you faced so like early at Nichols.
Yeah.
So like what were some of those challenges that you faced, and like what have you found to be like helpful in those challenges?
Yeah. So I think before I even get into that, I have to definitely just thank you know, Coach Michael Kamal, Coach Vaughn, all the staff there at Merrimack, every other coach I came in contact with, Corey, Coach Y, Scott, everyone at the you guys, even my high school strength coaches, because ultimately just looking back and reflecting was something I did every single day in my first year at Nichols, because one, I hadn't even been an assistant. Like, yeah, I was a graduate assistant. And I had 7 different internships. So I did feel semi-confident. Like, I felt like I had enough experience to be able to at least handle this. And speaking with the prior head coach, he was like, yeah, dude, you got this. Like, he did it with less experience at the time. And so I felt pretty good about it. But the biggest part was, you're one dude for 600 athletes. I have a 6-rack weight room and we have 23 teams. A lot of colleges do like full team lifts. We don't do that here. I tried to kind of do that because I didn't really know any other system. But that was where I reached out to, some of you guys, Coach Kamal. I know I've reached out to Hayden because he was kind of in a similar boat with, being a one-man show. And I was also living 45 minutes away. So, well, I was living in an hour at one point. I was living with the Cluties, Allie's parents. Shout out Mary Beth and Rob. I would wake up at 3 a.m., get ready, drive there, get there by 5, and spend the whole day there, leave around 7:30, get back around 8:30, and they would wait sometimes for me to have dinner. Like, that was amazing and allowed me to do my job. But the biggest part was learning how to build relationships with admin, so that I could also voice the things that needed to be voiced. Like, hey, this is a lot and impossible for one person to do for the rest of their life. You've gone through 3 strength coaches now in the past 5 years. There's a correlation here. And so I just got ahead of the curve. I knew I had to prove value. I knew I had to do a good job first. And I really tried to just build relationships with coaches, with student athletes. I was temporarily good with saying no. And then I started saying yes to more coaches about, more training times, this, and that. And now that I have the graduate assistant, I make sure that we know our boundaries, because at first you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. You don't want to, overcommit and underdeliver. And that was something I was taught by Coach Kamal at Merrimack. And I reached out to him so much just about I'm struggling with building a relationship with this coach, or, talking to admin about getting more support, or, I don't have a budget even. So it was like, if stuff broke or if I needed new stuff, it was like, how do I even go about this? So a lot of it was him explaining to me, go outside of your comfort zone, get out of the weight room, talk to admin, build relationships with coaches, but then also strategically tell those coaches your problems. Because what happened more or less was yes, I told them hey, what are the things I needed to do to, get more of a salary bump or a raise? What are the things I need to do to get a GA, to get a new weight room? And then presented them very clear whys and then solutions to those problems. So when they were thinking about the steps I needed to take, it was a matter of, okay, I now know the steps. I've executed those steps. Now that I've told the coaches this, and when they meet with their ADs and I've had good relationships with, the football staff or the hockey staff, whatever it may be, they're going to speak for me. I remember last year, the head hockey coach, he came to my office after he met with the ADs, and he was like, just want to let you know, I told them that you're doing an awesome job. You've exceeded our standards, and you deserve this, and that. And I was like, wow, you did not have to do that. And I did not expect that in the first year, but that ultimately helped me get a GA, helped me now be able to voice for new equipment and hopefully get a new weight room over the next few years, because that's in the plans now, but we'll just see what happens. So yeah, that was definitely the biggest part.
That was going to be kind of my question. You were hired at 23 years old as a director, you weren't even an assistant before, and I picked up that Coach Malt was pretty much a huge influence in you transitioning to that role. But anything else, any other coaches or resources that you really dove hard into, especially that first year being a director at 23, because that's a challenge in itself. You've never been in that situation, and now you're a director, and you have to learn on the fly how to be a leader, how to manage people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, that was the awesome part. At Merrimack, we did a lot of true leadership development, not only just reading books, but you are put in positions as a quote unquote squad leader to basically be the director for a month. And so you did all staff meetings, you did a lot of the scheduling, you communicated more with coaches, stuff like that. And that really gives you a taste of what it's like. And also how to communicate with the staff appropriately. And so I felt really confident because obviously looking back, I could have done better. I definitely reached out, like I said, to Hayden, but one of the fellow graduate assistants there, Zach Marhamo, he was an amazing leader, an amazing person, and just knew how to communicate extremely well with anyone. Like everyone loved Zach, and he was just like the most humble leader I've ever met. And while I had a lot of my struggles, I would call him like weekly, just be like, "Hey, I got this. Like, what do you think?" Because then it was just like a trusted personality that I knew was successful because of his value he proved at Merrimack. And that if he said the same thing I was kind of thinking, it just allowed us to kind of digest it. And then once I'd had that idea, I would just send it, really. I would just like try and communicate a certain way, try and set things up specifically. And currently right now, the weight room schedule we operate on is actually something he runs on with his staff at Colby College. So he was, another young coach, but someone that I valued a lot, and I valued his advice. I mean, I definitely called Corey a couple times just to learn how to like talk to coaches. Cause that's another huge one, is like, I now have to talk to like 20 different coaches, and a football coach is a lot harder to talk to than, let's say, a soccer coach. Even though I have great relationships with the soccer coaches, they just see the weight room differently. Right. So like, how do I make sure I'm communicating this well? And then how do I make sure I'm not coming off like I'm super know-it-all, egotistical, young, hotshot strength coach? Like, I wanted to make sure that was very clear. So, yeah.
What's your 5-year plan right now?
I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. I would say I would like to be here for 5 years, but I also, have circumstances that I want to make sure are met. Like, I want to have an assistant. I definitely need new equipment. We need to have the capability of expanding, because currently right now, like, yes, the schedule isn't bad, but we're also developing better and better athletes. And if we want to input and create a better athletic program, like we're going to hit our ceiling at some point. Like, yes, we can get creative, but it's exhausting. And at what cost? With the graduate assistant and one person for 500 and some athletes, that's incredibly taxing. And I want to have a family. I want to, marry this woman next to me. So like, if we want to have a life outside of work, then yeah, I'll do this for another couple of years. But if we're going to stay here long-term, like, you got to meet me halfway. But I always thought I would go, like, I wanted to be Power 5 football, or like I wanted to be Division I, especially after Minnesota. I was like, gosh, this is sweet. And then Merrimack was Division I. I was like, this is sweet. But now that I've been here and just seeing how, like, a lot of it doesn't really change besides the style of the athlete and obviously some other, admin roles. And it's awesome. It's so fun. Like, you get so close. Like, the staff I'm around is extremely close. No one really has like big egos. There's not as much risk, even though, like, yes, everyone's super competitive. Everyone wants to win, but you're not stressed because you're like, oh, we lost and like my job's at risk. Right. So I do enjoy that. And I think I would totally be willing to try and go up, because there's 50 colleges in the Northeast that I could probably jump around to, but I want to see if we can continue to exceed the standard of Nichols College and like grow the vision I have for this school. So.
Nice.
If you could go back before you took this Nicholas College, say like in 5 years, you knew you were getting this, would you try and get an assistant position? Like, would you want that experience as an assistant before you became director at 23? If you could go back, or do you like how you just became the director?
I think, yeah, because it would have been nice to know, especially now that I have Jordan here. It's like, I told him day one that, if there's more stuff I can give you, let me know. If I'm giving you too much, let me know. Like, I'm now new to delegating, so like being in that assistant role, I feel like you do learn like how stuff is handed down to you, how to communicate up and down the chain a little bit more. And also like how much you can handle and how much is comfortable to handle, because at times I feel like I want to just do everything. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm overloaded, give it to like the GA or give it to the interns. versus like just being more strategic about, seeing how a system works, seeing how a weight room schedule works. And it's come a long way. Like what I have right now is definitely the best that it's been at, not to knock on the past coaches or like what they were doing in the past, but we've definitely developed it into a much stronger culture and system. But yeah, I would definitely take an assistant position first.
Nice.
What about
Well-
you guys? Is everyone's goal to be the director at one point?
I am the director right now.
I mean, yeah, you
So-
and JD. Yeah.
I don't know, dude. I don't if it is, it won't be here. Just because there's a lot of coaches that have been here for a while and they came up in like the system. So I don't see them ever leaving. So like I'd have to go somewhere else. It would really have to be like the perfect situation. I think my goal would probably be to go pro for a little while. I think that's probably my ultimate goal right now.
Dang.
I would say there, when I interviewed, they always asked me what my 5-year plan was, and I always said like I don't want to be a director because I just want to coach. I don't want to have to deal with admin. I don't want to be an administrator. I just want to coach. But I think there's a lot of power to experience, and I definitely more see myself now like as I'm going through it, and I've been an assistant now for over 3 years. Like I'm starting to get a certain like thought of how things should be ran. And obviously, I have a great role model to look after, and Coach Wiley does a phenomenal job. But like even just with my own teams, like I'm starting to get more of a voice, and they're starting to respect more of like my opinion on things, and like I'm starting to see how things should be. So I feel like in 10 years, I'm gonna have a lot of experience and thoughts on how things should be ran. So there might be a place for me one time where, I don't think it'll be at Minnesota, but you can never say never. Where someone like my experience might be very helpful for university, just how like you seem to be figuring it out at Nichols.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the new challenge I gave myself now after talking with some other staffs, just to try and network more. But I was also asked, what do you do in an admin role? And I was like, I don't really have one. But I know that typically the director has some sort of role in admin or, with the athletic directors in general. And so I was challenged by this other staff member, like try and think like an admin, so now I'm trying to like take myself out of just the weight room and be like, okay, the scheduling here, like how does the scheduling work? Communication with staffs, communication with coaches, and like blah, blah, blah. So I'm also trying to add value in that way. And that's actually really fun because like now that I'm also, yes, like the head and there's a lot of growth in the weight room, I can also try and think like an admin and see if I can work my way up into that realm. So if I did ever want to move, it's like, well, I can kind of balance both and I have experience and I've added value in both areas so that I feel confident if I were to adjust and go to a higher level or whatever it may be.
You know what else makes you want to be a director? When you find out how much directors make compared to what you make. And it's like, oh wow, that sounds so much nicer.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Coach Ruff. That was great, man. Appreciate it. It's really cool to hear like another story that's completely different from all of ours. So I killed it, man. Loved it. If you're listening, we hope you enjoyed it. We hope you're enjoying this whole series we're going on. It's cool because I don't think a lot of people I think a lot of people talk, but they don't go through like their whole story, the ups and downs and everything that led them to this point. So it's definitely a cool thing we're doing. Make sure you check out last episode with Coach Shire, Adam, and then the one before that with Coach Fondo, and then the one before that with me. And then next week we'll finish with JD, the duck guy, and he'll tell his story of where he got to where he's at. But we're gonna do one more thing before we get off. One quick thing, okay? So the XFL is going on right now, boys. So I think this is the perfect time for us to dive into the XFL. Okay. So we're all gonna pick teams. I'm going first because I fucking love this team and I'm all about it. Okay. So I have the teams up. I'm gonna read them off. The DC Defenders, the Seattle Sea Dragons, the St. Louis Blackhawks, the Vegas Vipers, the Arlington Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, the Orlando Guardians, and the San Antonio Brahmas. I'm a Houston Roughneck through and through, bro. All the way. I watched the game. I was watching them when they were before. Okay, I'm from there. That's my squad. If any who wants to go next, first come, first serve.
Seattle Sea Dragons,
Figured.
just since I'm Seattle.
Well, I heard that Heinz Ward's coaching a team, and he's one of my favorite players of all time. So I'm gonna go with the San Antonio. What is it? The Brahmas.
Yep.
That's my team. Don't know anything about him, but I know Heinz Ward's coaching it. So
It's their
I'll
first
do the Vipers.
Vegas Vipers.
Vipers.
Nice.
Because I lived in Orlando, I'm going with the Orlando Guardians.
All right. We have our teams. They are set. We'll figure out what we're gonna do about this. But
How many games are there?
I don't know. Let's see. I have it pulled up right here. Teams, rule change, drafts, season structure.
bro, you're
Um,
coached by Wade Phillips.
Yeah. 10-week regular season. Yeah, Houston, Texas, baby. Let's go. 10-week regular season. 4 games are played per week during the regular season. Playoffs despite initial reports. Crossover pro, some blah blah blah.
Oh,
don't know.
dude, our quarterback's Jack Cohen. I coached him at Wisconsin. Let's go.
All right, so 10 weeks. It's not long. But I'm pretty sure the championship is in San Antonio.
Let's put some money on this.
Okay.
Bro,
we
Bro,
gamble.
no, we can't gamble, bro.
Laffy Taffies. Let's put
Laffy Airheads, Laffy Taffy.
Airheads.
Yep. All right, but we have our teams. We'll figure out what we're doing, and we'll talk more about that as we go on. But again, shout out Coach Ruff. Shout out everybody that's done their series. Shout out everybody that's listening. If you're listening on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the like. We appreciate it, and then send it to your best friend so they can watch it too. And then make sure if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you hit the subscribe, you hit the follow, whatever it may be, and then you also like it, you share it, you send it to your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. Get them on it. Okay. Make sure you check out merch, programs, whatever it is on our website that you need. Make sure you check out the Breath Belt at thebreathbelt.com. The best training tool you can have to be successful. Other than that, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hanging with the Herd.
Let's get ducked.
Damn, bro.
They just